Alright guys, so welcome back to the last recap of this week. I'll quickly cover today's AM session and I'll cover a trade I took later, right about now. So yeah, let's start right away. Going into the day, I was expecting a retracement. So when I looked at London, we had this SMT, we took this high. And then if you look at ES, did pretty much the same thing. We took the high from the previous day high. It was a bit stronger than NQ. And we made this SMT, right? So what I wanted to see for the New York session was trading below this, like some trading to form a bullish narrative to go back up. I had a loose bias, I would say, because of the structure today. If we were in the live stream, we said it doesn't look really good to trade today because it's a narrow kind of range type of day, and the structure before New York looked really bad. We also talked about the market opening lower, which is what we wanted to see, like me and Boy. You can see ES was the weaker asset today. I pretty much opened and just dumped. The same goes for NQ. The only difference on NQ is it held up price at the beginning, right? ES did not. ES just went lower. I didn't really show a reaction. So having a quite loose bias and seeing the retracement of the all-time high right here, this to me, like this SMT was the sponsor of this move lower, but it didn't have any value going into the New York session because to me this switched to targets to target. And I'll explain why right now. So for me, the biggest reason to look for upside today was the manipulation lower at open and the point where price was sitting and where I expected a move. So if any of you noticed, we had an SMT here, which was pretty significant in my opinion. That was the main reason for the move up. Also, you can see ES tapped CE. It missed it by one tick, which to me counts as mitigated. You don't want to be too precise because you're gonna miss trades. You can see NQ holding the top of the end dog. What I wanted to see initially though, like for the first move, was this swept and trade into this 5-minute right here. You could have used the 5-minute or the 50-minute, doesn't really matter. This to me was a good rejection block because of the SMP. So I expected NQ to trade lower, trade into it. I used the 50-minute one to show you why this didn't get tapped in a bit. So this 50-minute one, you can see engineered liquidity literally above CE, which is perfect, right? You could have limited this with a stop below. But what it used was actually this one. So it didn't really sweep the engineered liquidity for the other one. It used this one and moved, right? So to me, the guys that, or the people that had the balls to execute on this rejection block, you pretty much caught the low of the session. This was a really good entry. I was too slow on this. I didn't realize we used the upper one because I wanted to see the lower one. If it took this, your risk to reward was absolutely insane. You had like a 5-point stop. And it's a 1 to 15. Like delivered, break even here, and that's about it. But with this playing out, and you can see that 9:30 ran and swept the 8 a.m. low on everything pretty much. Like yes, it swept quite a bit of lows. On NQ right here, you can see the 8 a.m. low should be this. So the previous hourly low, if you look at hourly structure, it sweeps the previous hourly low, makes an SMT. To me, this, if we saw the reaction higher off of this, signal 10 a.m. expansion. And as you guys can see, we get a really strong reaction with ES being the weaker one, not showing enough strength yet. And then 10 a.m. opens, and 10 a.m. open to me would have been perfect if we actually opened either inside this 1-minute range or if we opened in this 5-minute range. Whatever got tapped, I wouldn't have minded to take this or the other one. If we traded lower, probably this one, into this 5-minute gap, I would have tried to long to the all-time high. That was my plan after missing the initial move. I wanted to trade this continuation, or like still trying to get in on the manipulation, but because the all-time high was so close, would have looked something like this to get a decent risk to reward, right? Wherever the entry was, like this, it's worth, not really worth it like this, but you get the picture, right? Something like this was the plan. But like I explained, we pretty much manipulated at open, so 10 a.m. literally just expanded today. And that's about the time where I hopped off. Boy, I think stayed on stream for a bit. But I hopped off right about here when the high got swept. You could have still traded this higher with continuation trades because ES was following. So ES caught up and was trying to deliver higher. But yeah, also in a perfect world, because ES was weaker, ES would resweep this low, make another SMT, and Q would manipulate into this gap, make another SMT, and then you have your A+ setup to the upside. That being said, I hopped off. I looked at my phone during lunch and saw this huge sell-off during lunch, pretty much when lunch opened. Or right about when lunch opened. And that's where I became interested again because the market started moving. And what I did was I hopped on charts right about here to see if I could find anything. I look at lunch, how lunch played out. And what I noticed was these equal lows. So I stepped away again and I waited with an alert at these lows for price to come down and sweep them because I knew we had this 4-hour gap below. So all I wanted to see was price come down, sweep these lows, right? And then possibly get a move higher. And that's exactly what I traded. So we get this huge manipulation, right? You can see 1 a.m. the 4-hour candle pretty much trades lower into the gap, sweeps the lows, and then we start to build structure. And you can see how NQ tends to go back to the upside. And you can see yes is a bit lagging on this, right? So what I was trying to do and what I was thinking is if we get any higher time frame rejection block, like the 50-minute one, or I'll delete this so it becomes less cluttered. I'll delete this one too. If we can get anything, I can base a trade off of. I'll be happy to take that. As you can see, ES had this where this is like it taps CE of it, but it's still valid until the low is swept, right? And NQ does pretty much the same. On the 5 and the 50-minute, you have a rejection block, and we get the manipulation lower at the 1 p.m. candle. So I'm trying to trade the expansion to the upside of the 1 p.m. candle because we manipulated lower first, right? And that's where I looked at the 1 minute range. In this case, would be actually this one because that's the swing, but I don't really like how it looks because this is the rejection block on the higher time frame with the RB low. So I didn't want to use it here. And you can see how we go. We edge through the open, we edge the high, we trade lower right here. And we make an SMT. And then I hopped on the 5-minute because I didn't want to enter on 1 minute confirmation. And you guys can see we get a 5-minute rejection block with this SMT down here. Boom. And that's where I entered. At the top of it, 21-point stop. And a pretty easy TP, I would say. I didn't want to hold for like this whole low resistance liquidity because looking at the move, I still felt like maybe I could be wrong about an expansion higher after this whole sell-off. That's why I went for low-hanging fruits instead of like holding to, I don't know, this high or even this high, right? And that's pretty much one candle delivery on the 5-minute, right? So on the 1 minute, Took a couple candles, but not 5 minutes. It was done like in 4 minutes, and that was thanks to some random news event that came out that pushed my trade to the TP. So you can see pretty much the free confidence is rejection block, range, manipulation lower, higher time frame rejection block, entry trigger off of that, and the SMT. Straightforward trade, I would say, and yeah, that's about it. I usually don't trade PM session, but because I missed a trade, or like because I didn't get the 2 trades I wanted, this one and this one in AM session, I thought I would hop on in PM session and look for something today because I'm going on vacation tomorrow, so I can't trade NFP. Now I'm 3 out of 3 trades this week, 1 break even, 2 wins, and yeah, that's about it for me for the whole week. If there's any questions about this, I know it's different session. Maybe it looks a bit weird because you're used to AM recaps. It's just me trying to execute the PM. Maybe it's also a bit discretional. I don't know. It worked, so I'm pretty glad and content with that. So yeah, if you have any more questions, tag me today, please. I'll try and get back to some questions tomorrow, but I won't be active over the weekend in the Discord. And I'll be back on Sunday. So for the next trading week, I'm ready to go again, and we'll win there too. So enjoy the weekend. I hope you found it insightful, and I'll see you next time, probably on Tuesday. Bye bye.